Our recording, we are live on YouTube. Happy day, another day. Yeah, I'm already rocking and rolling here. So our recording, here we go. All right, already turn that off and I'll be able to see the chat. Hopefully, a little bit different setup again today. Just trying to be creative. Just trying to make it work. All right. So I hope everybody's having a really good day so far. I know I am. I am having a good time today. A lot of stuff going on. I had a chance to I haven't been getting a lot of stuff coming through during the week because the week has been so crazy busy. But this morning I did take some time to say, hey, I need to start doing this again, just getting back into a little bit better routine to start these off because I think these are kind of important, the things that we're going to be starting to, um, you know, things are gonna get intense. It's not gonna be all at once. I don't think there's gonna be little peppered shots, like hearing the shotgun go off. But kind of what I got was about programming, and the programming's running deep enough that we can no longer discern the meaning or origins of things, people. It's getting harder to, you know, just discern what's going on. Um, if we think we've got it figured out, think again, because I this really feels like it's going to run deep. I kind of touched on it a little bit the other night with Stone, and it just felt like the people that you start talking to, they're so convinced on their hard line, they're not willing to listen to what anybody else says. If they mention something and you say, hey, you're saying A, well, I heard that A1 also has an impact on this, and this leads you down a totally different path, and they totally ignore you and keep on their trajectory. That to me is tossing the baby out with the bathwater, because even if you don't really get it, you can acknowledge it and put it on the shelf, and maybe it'll come back to you. So hopefully planting those seeds is going to be helpful, but when we can no longer discern the meanings or the origins, it's kind of like things are so deep. Kind of saw like, when you look down that rabbit hole, as it were, you can't see the bottom of it. And even going down there, there's no flashlight that really can dispel that kind of darkness if you're not willing to take a stab at shifting your perspective. So I guess the question came in, it says, so where do we go from here? You hear a lot of people talk about ascension, and I think that's a bad term. That's not what's going on. Even talking about things that are higher beings, there is no such thing as a higher being. There are things that we cannot see, and people will say, well, it's because it's different frequency, 100%. That's true. That doesn't mean they're a higher being. They may have more control over them, their physical form or their themselves, their thoughts, whatever. But for what we are going through, where do we go from here? And it's expansion, not ascension. And it doesn't mean that when you expand, you have less of what's inside that container. So if you think of a water balloon and you put water in a water balloon, the water balloon's going to expand. That's just the container. But the container shifts, but there's more in the container because the balloon's expanding and it's taking in more water. Water can equate to like liquid light, right? So I guess when we think of expansion, it's not lighter in weight either. It's potentially more densely packed, but it just contains more stuff, more light, more information, more awareness, more knowledge. Knowledge is not wisdom, right? So when we gather more light, we are enlightened. It doesn't mean we're lighter in weight. but it's about an expansion. When you gather in more light, expansion is inevitable. Because if the structure, if you, it's either the balloon, I kind of had originally thought of like if you get water in a piston chamber and it tries to push it, the water's not going to compress. It's going to break. It's going to have enough force in it to not only, damage that particular piston and the rods, that it could actually, there's enough force in that it could damage the engine block. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff. But I guess destruction can ensue. And if you had a balloon that could contain that light and you had something around it that did not allow that balloon to expand, it's not going to go anywhere. There's going to be a problem. There's going to be a destruction of the structure. So, and the other thing too is being careful where and how we use our enlightenment, because that can also cause some structural damage. If you think about it, people don't want to hear it. And I think last week I talked about wielding our swords in silence. My mother used to say, because she was, devout Christian, she said, preach the gospel every day, and if necessary, use words. So ultimately it was live by example, but I think it's a little bit more than that. We can definitely wield our sword without words, and it's not just through actions, it's through how we interact with people. It's not just what we say to people, it's what we don't say to people, even though hazy, it's what other people are kind of able to, they're not able to absorb the light or the enlightenment or your desire for them to expand. That's why we need to really kind of look at our own self. There was something else that came up too. I don't know where I wrote it down, but it was something about programming. It was more about the programming, and it was about something about when I said discernment and when I wrote out discern, and what part of the word popped up and stuck in my head were the last four letters. So I think that was a cue to start looking at some of the things that are going on around those devices. And it's not just in Switzerland, yeah. I think most people know that. So what can we do to kind of help ourselves expand with a good discernment? It feels like that even no matter how much light you put out, people will put their sunglasses on. People are going to put their blindfolds on or blinders on or put down their visors or pull their shades, and that's okay. It's important not to put a bowl or shut your light away. We just have to do and say what needs to be done and said. Again, using words when necessary. All right, I am going to flip over the other camera, shifted my board around again. Yeah, and it drives me crazy because it's wonky, right? I had to push it over. I did my board a little different. So, because I can see that it's a little off, but that's okay. So we're looking about discernment, enlightenment, and speaking. People say, "Oh, you got to speak your truth." Well, we used to say truth is truth, and it's like, depends on what side of the gem you're on, what side of that sacred geometry form that you're standing on, as to whether or not that's going to make sense to you or not. I don't know. Whoa. All right, so love and compassion, that's how we're supposed to wield these words. And last time it was about being in silent. There's something about being able to share what we have, because this is, and making good decisions. So this being 9 of cups, it's like, look at those 2 cups there, they're separated at the bottom. So, and it's like everybody's just kind of passing things by. And that's okay, because those who need to be filled up, who will need more, are going to be stopping, and they're going to listen, and it's going to be transformational. This came up, I think this has been coming up a few times. So it is with a new beginning. It's the death of the old ways. There's some vulnerability that we're going to feel uncomfortable about it as well. I get 3 months. Excuse me. So 6 of Swords is like protection, or protected and moving away from those that would endanger us. Anything else? Knight of Swords. Yeah, that's quick energy, right? He's got some experience, so it's okay to speak up, and we might take a few hits. That's okay too. What else? New beginning. So there's going to be something that's left behind, like this. It's going to be a shell, like that, pale in comparison. There's almost feelings of like giving up. But really it's a call for rest and relaxation, or recuperating. I could say that. Yeah, no lamenting, not calling, not, we have to focus on the right things. Not being too hasty. This feels like hasty. It's like we're not paying attention to all this bounty. Okay, so it's not going to be real comfortable. Huh. That's kind of a given. All right, I'm told to go this way. That's kind of different. Today's going to be fairly quick. I have a family member who had pretty serious accident, and I'm gonna take off and do a visit. It's about spreading it around, wielding the magic, huh? Frequency of magic supports our intrinsic ability to grow and expand beyond. Expand. This moment to move toward possibilities and expressions that are as grand and profound as we can imagine. So using our imagination is going to be really, really important, and sticking with it with whatever we're envisioning. Our visions are going to be really important. I think those are going to step up as well. All that is required is our belief in their manifestation. That's the magic. And, they used to say that, oh, it's just kid stuff, and, pretending is, what little kids do, and really it's what we need to do as adults to maintain it. Passion. With passion, frequency of passion reminds us that beneath every intense emotion lies the hidden gem of insight, balance, and calm. So here's the thing: when we are in this magic mode and we are trying to manifest, and we are manifesting, it's also to be sustained with the intense emotions that go along with that. So if you want to have something happen in your life, you have to sustain that, irrespective of what's going on around you. So it assists us in finding the balance within us, intensity, moving us from chaos to calm of its core, where it can let its long-lasting wisdom fill us up. Wow. Okay. And then we have integration. The frequency of integration supports our embrace of every aspect of ourselves, allowing what we perceive as positive and what we perceive as negative to harmonize and balance a symphony of light. So that's like the death and the 10, making it uncomfortable. But if we're not doing the realization of cutting away what no longer serves us and not getting the rest that we need, remembering that there is this help and this calmness that we aren't perceiving. And let's not hold on to this lamentation. This feels like lamentation. The lamentation, this passion, magic, and integration, this is all part and parcel of the change, of this shift. What else do we have about this? We have the deck upside down. I'm not good with, I don't do reverse. You kind of get off of it what it is. Yeah. Three. Imagine, talked about the imagination, didn't we? So being careful what we imagine and and this isn't like flighty stuff. When we are consistent with our inner narrative, that's what is the magic. And when we aren't paying attention to it, it's easy for us to embody with our imagination things that are not pleasant to us. So we need to take mental action. Here's Yang. That's our mental action and connecting with the spirit and watching those thoughts and words. Yeah, I feel like it is allowing us to get to the very edge, to the brink of what we really care about and what we really love. Okay, it's probably just going to be a couple more, whatever we get out of this. It's going to be good. What else? Might do something later this evening after I get back. Stone and I briefly talked about it. All right, we do not want to be closed away. When we're going to close ourselves away and separate ourselves, that is what is going to cause some of the issues that we might, pretend. The only thing that is going to be beneficial is it says refuse to give in. So there is a thing for not giving in, but there's also that silence within is not necessarily a bad thing. So closing ourselves off to a certain degree, maybe cutting ourselves off from these negative thought patterns, and there is some silence and there is some distance. This feels like a personal message that there has been some separation going on, and there is a preparation for reparation and reconciliation. So that is a personal message for someone. So don't give up on your imagination. Don't give up on the good aspects of what we have that's coming in. I don't know if anybody has anything else. I know this one's like really rocket quick, but I have a 90-minute drive ahead of me, and it's gonna be a long one. If anybody wants me to pull the card, I have I have a gazillion decks over there. I could, if somebody wanted a reading for anything. But really, I think it's about programming, being more open-minded without exposing ourselves to undue negativity, especially within ourselves, because ultimately people don't hurt us. We allow ourselves to be hurt. We put ourselves in positions to be hurt. I heard someone say something. It was about a guy said, well, if you have a cup of coffee and someone bumps into you, why did the coffee spills? And it's like, so what happened? Well, you spilled the coffee, and it's like, well, they spilled my coffee, and it's like, well, is that what happened? I guess the idea is we spilled the coffee, but if you we're going to spill out what we have in our container. So if you have coffee or tea or whatever in your cup, that's what's going to be spilled out. So whatever we're putting out in our imagination, that's what's going to come out in manifestation, especially if it's sustained. But I guess that's all I really kind of have, you guys. If there is anything else going on, pull you a card. What do you need to know? I don't know. What do you need to know? Let me grab hang on here. I have to stand up. I don't like standing up. All right, what do you need to know? You might get a card with a sense of humor, so just be careful of that. So, what do you need to know? I don't know. Was this about a safety factor or safety issue, or is there anything like that? Because I think you're a pretty switched on individual. But is it related to like connection, protection? Is it financial? I have my financial deck around here somewhere. I don't know what I did with it. It's tucked way over there, but let's see what Arizona needs to know. What does Arizona need to know? Gosh, is it that you need to know, or is it something that you want to know? You know? All right, so I have my fun deck. So these are the Oracle versions, maybe. All right. Connection and protection. And that can go in a lot of different directions. That could be something that's 3D protection. That could be 2D protection. It could be, protection from the unders or protection from the overs. We're talking spiritually, right? All right, 3 top. So I guess there's like a learning phase, right? So there's some learning, education, might be something new coming in, but not really. New information on an old gig, right? That's kind of fun. And that's really kind of fits in with, mastering that power and reclaiming that power that you have to make the decisions that need to be made. Wow, and that was about discernment too earlier. Here's your answer. If you have a question, there's your answer. It's okay to say no. So if you feel like it's uncomfortable, you're going to know, right? Yeah. A message or a warning. I think that If there are decisions that need to be made, you're going to know whether it's going to be a no or a hell no. There's going to be an intuitive, ooh, I got the P word, and his name is Rick. The P in front of that, that's, I don't want to. Anyway. So yeah, it's like there's going to be a little, like, not a conscience thing, but a knowing, and it's going to come like a little, you snap a rubber band on your wrist or something. Yeah, and I think it's going to be a clear message, right? It's going to be a very clear message. And the other issue is too, there's the difference between making a snap judgment and making a valid discernment, proper judgment that you're not doing emotionally. Not an emotion driven, especially if it's a big decision. Oh, that's kind of where that's going. So maybe for this week, what can we all look forward to? I'm going to do more research on the last 4 letters of discern. And we'll see where that kind of goes. Yeah. Anyway, I have to discern my way down the road 90 minutes one way. What's our word for the day? Do more research. So it's getting into that routine. Like I said, I have been switching things up, and I feel like that this is the way I have to kind of go now. So I might have to switch this to evening during the week, only because this is very, very cumbersome for me to go through this. I'm gonna put my pendulum on that just to keep it grounded. But anyway, yeah, I hope that was helpful. And everybody just, like, share, subscribe, hit that notifications bell. I hope to have something this evening posted. A couple of things. I've got 3 things that I'm behind on posting, and interviews. So I might do another one. Anyway, I hope this was helpful to someone out there. Hopefully Arizona got a little something out of it, and I will see